Good day, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's my second time to South Africa. I've met with a couple of the resellers and customers on our last visit, and it's nice to see your friendly faces again. I know I'm the only thing preventing you from getting lunch, so hopefully you can bear with my brief overview, highlighting some similarities and differences between global fleet around the world and how it ties back to South Africa. So whether you are a local fleet manager or you're part of an organization that operates in more than one country, or perhaps you're part of a global organization, there are common goals to solve fleet problems to improve efficiency, productivity, safety, reliability, and accountability of your fleets on both a global and local scale. But as people talk about global fleet management policies, and as we've heard through the presentations today, there are differences in the local markets. You know, everyone has their own budgets, their own agendas, their own unique problems that they need to solve for. There are different currencies, languages, privacy regulations, data residency laws that all have to be considered. And the solution needs to have connectivity and be certified in each of these countries in order for you to have a global telematics solution. So globally around the world, there's tons of different telematics interests and challenges. We've talked about the basics today. We've talked about what the future holds, you know, from compliance to smart cities, government regulations, to all of the talks around security and data privacy, with GDPR becoming extremely important in Europe. Countries like India, all countries are evaluating legislation to put in place to protect the data of the people in their countries and make sure they're doing things the right way. Engine data availability varies as there's unique vehicle combinations around the world, so you're not going to get the same information. Integrations with other platforms. People don't just want telematics data. They want to be able to combine that telematics data with other data in their organization to drive additional value. Driver ID solutions are becoming more complex. It's not just an NFC reader today. Some people are even talking about biometrics. And then here in Africa, you have your own interests and challenges. You know, these unique vehicle combinations, we saw the pictures that Patrick sent. Doing an install for telematics devices in these types of vehicles, it's going to be different. You're going to have to use different hardware, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to get the same data. The market is heavily cost-oriented due to high data roaming costs and the economy. There's a high penetration of track and trace solutions because, I mean, this was the home of some of the technology for GPS tracking. Stolen vehicle recovery is still extremely important in your country. Public transport, mining, logistics, etc. But surprisingly, even though you have all of these challenges, there's actually overlap with other regions across the world. Just take something like Seatbelt, for example. When talking to customers in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia Pacific, we run into these unique vehicle combinations as well. These broken down vehicles where we need something to solve for. You're not gonna just get the data off of the CAN. So we have things like our IOXs with an auxiliary input where you can tie to, you know, the dashboard seatbelt light or sensors to be able to monitor that information. There's a booth in the IOX village at the back there that actually shows a demonstration of this. Whereas in North America, for the larger companies, they actually speak to the OEMs and they tell them like what they want to be upfitted in the vehicles so that they can guarantee that they will get that data. They will make sure that the seatbelt information will come off the CAN so that their telematics data is guaranteed. And then overall, if you're a global organization, you have these global fleet policies that you want to be standardized. You want to be able to monitor whether it's harsh driving, seatbelt, carbon emissions, consistently. So by having solutions that can cater for these different needs, whether you're getting it off the CAN or through a hardware add-on, it allows you to view all of that data in one place. If we aren't able to get the data, we're willing to send firmware engineers out there to do reverse engineering to troubleshoot. We have our local partners here in Africa to help with some of that. And then overall, within that platform, you have that consistency. Fuel monitoring is becoming extremely important. You know, we want to look at fuel usage as it pertains to carbon emissions. As mentioned in the previous presentation, everyone's looking at reducing their carbon footprint. How can you do this without even understanding how much fuel you're burning? looking at idling costs as it pertains to fuel usage, looking at where your drivers are filling up. Maybe you have a deal with certain gas stations that you get a discounted rate if you use a particular card. How do you know if they're obeying these policies and actually saving your organization money? But the challenge is we're not going to be able to get fuel level information off the can on every vehicle. You know, these older vehicle combinations are going to cause problems, and that's why there's solutions like fuel level sensors, like Omnicom that we have in the IOX Village over here that can account for that. And they've been able to integrate that data into the My Geotab platform so that, again, across the board, you are able to monitor this information consistently. Fuel theft reporting has become increasingly important as well. It's very common in North America that there's fuel card integrations so that you can compare the transaction that the driver made at the pump to where the vehicle actually was when the transaction took place, and you can identify theft scenarios. But then what about the minor fuel theft situations? You know, with all of these technologies, there can be certain percentage of inaccuracy, and minor theft detection might go without being noticed. So things like diesel guard integrations where you can monitor, you know, on and off lifting of the cap, the duration, et cetera, are going to be important in markets like India, Asia, and even here in Africa. And these regional challenges and unique solution requirements are going to continue. We are hearing problems from different people. People want driver identification solutions using biometrics. We've talked about asset utilization. Do you even need all of the vehicles that you have in your fleet? Maybe you need to compare if you should be sharing with similar fleets that operate together. Asset tracking for motorcycles and non-powered assets. We want to be able to have all of that data in one open platform. And as Colin mentioned, we're not going to be the experts in everything, but we're going to have the partners and the ecosystem who are going to enable us to have all of that in one place. And by working together, even though you have these challenges here in Africa, if you work in an organization that has districts in other countries, you can brainstorm, you can work on this together. Maybe you have similarities, maybe you have differences, but there are solutions. And you need to work together to think global, but then have the feet on the ground to act local. Other benefits of thinking about a global solution is you can contribute that regional data to a larger big data pool. So now if you want to do benchmarking of your fleet, how is my fleet here in South Africa comparing to the rest of Africa? How are they abiding by this global fleet management policy? By putting this data into Geotab's big data pool, we can help you with that. We can look at the vocation classification. So if you're a delivery fleet, an office type fleet, a school bus fleet, you're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. We talked about the data science package and the predictive maintenance, so I won't go into that any further. And then overall, by using an advanced telematics solution, you can leverage those features here in Africa while still meeting the needs in other countries. So compliance is extremely important in North America. We have regulations around the amount of driving time that truck drivers can use. Whereas in the UK, you know, they've used tachographs for years. So Geotab has had to come up with a solution to account for that. They're not going to use a mobile app. They're not going to change the way that they've done things for years. But by building our partnership network, building these solutions, we can guarantee that you will have a solution that meets all of your needs. And ideally, it's one platform. So it's hardware agnostic, it's software agnostic. If you want to use, you know, a third-party device because it has some functionality that the Go device doesn't have, bring that data into My Geotab. Now you don't have to look at two different places. You can look at your Go device data and your third-party device data in one place. Maybe you have your own proprietary software where you prefer because you do other things and other data sets. Use our APIs or use the data science package to pull that information into your systems and then drive your insights from there. We also have a very rich partnership network around the world which can help enable you to deal with some of those local requirements. We want to hear from you. We want to know what those problems are so that we can build solutions around them. So really the takeaway that I wanted to leave you with today is if you're having trouble getting buy-in for an advanced telematics solution here in South Africa because it's so penetrated by just regular track and trace, get global buy-in. These advanced features you can leverage to take your fleet to the next level, as well as you can standardize your fleet to the rest of the regions across the world. And as we mentioned before, we want to hear from you. So bring those problems to us, both locally and globally, and we will work with you to help you. So thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you guys enjoy your lunch.